Hey folks, this is the remediation for target 1.5, which is identifying and describing slopes. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Here's problem number one. I'm going to use this graph and talk about the slope of the line. So here's my line right here, this blue, and this is a straight horizontal line, and the slope of the horizontal line is 0. Right, so I'm going to just write that down as 0. And if we're thinking about it as we're running, and we always run left to right, you're not increasing, you're not decreasing, you're just staying the same. Right, so this is a 0 slope. Right, so the value of that slope is also the value number 0. Okay, and then the y-intercept, there is a y-intercept right here. Right, our y-intercept is always where our line crosses the y-axis. Right, so our y-intercept here, and I always like to write it as a point because it is a point. Right, it is 0, -2. Right, -1, -2. If you just wrote -2, that's okay as well, but I like to usually write it as a point. Just real briefly, if you have a straight vertical line, so let's say I had a line that kind of went like this, and it was straight up and down vertical, this is the line that we say has an undefined slope. There's no run to it at all. Okay, so this is the undefined slope line. All right, but our line was a 0 slope, that horizontal line. Okay, next one, I have a graph again. I'm going to describe the slope of this line. Well, this one, as you're moving forward, as we always do, it is decreasing or it's going down. Right, so I'm going to describe the slope of this line as negative. All right, this is a negative sloped line. And now I want to actually find the value of that slope. Well, to do that, I need to find a couple points. And I'm going to kind of highlight a couple of them here, right there and right there. I'm going to put a couple more on. I like to do a few of them just to make sure that I'm being consistent. All right, and now I'm going to move left to right. So I'm going to start at this point, and I need to move to that point. I'm going to grab a different color. So to move there, I first need to go down. I need to go down 1. Okay, so my rise is a -1. All right, if we think of our slope being, I'm going to write it here, is rise over run. Okay, so I'm finding my rise first, and it was a -1 because I went down. And now I'm going to run 1, 2, 3. All right, so I went down 1 over 3, and this should continue. Let's see, down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3, sure enough. Okay, so the value of my slope is, I'm going to change back to blue, is down 1 over 3, or -1/3. Okay, it's the slope of this line. Okay, and then additionally, I want to find the y-intercept. Well, I find my y-axis. Where does my line cross that y-axis? Right there, at a value of +2. So again, I like to write this as a point because it is in fact a point. If you would just write the value 2, that would be acceptable as well. Okay. All right. So what if I'm given 2 points? I don't have a graph here, but given 2 points, I can find the slope of that line. I can describe it, and I can also find the y-intercept. Okay, with these two. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm not going to describe my slope yet because I can't necessarily tell just by looking at these 2 points. I actually need to find the value of it first. Okay, and if I think about my slope, all right, once again being my rise over my run. Okay, well, to find my rise, I need to find the change in the y values, right, or the up and down on the graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my y values here, right, and I need to know the change between those two. So I am going to subtract them. My rise is going to be -4 -4, right? That's going to give me my difference between these two y values, up and down, okay? And then, I'm going to do another color here. My run is my difference of my x values, my change in my x values. So I'm going to take 0 and subtract 2. Okay, one thing that's important to note when we're doing this is your direction needs to stay the same. So I'm subtracting that way. I'm subtracting that way in both of these cases. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to blue. -4 minus 4 is -8. And then 0 minus 2 is -2. So this is correct. This is accurate, but I'm going to simplify this down. -8 divided by -2 is just 4. Okay, so there we go. So the value of my slope between these 2 points is 4. Okay, so can I describe the slope of the line now? I absolutely can. It is positive. Can I abbreviate that? And then find the y-intercept. Well, I could do some more work to find that, but I can actually see that one of these points that was given to me is, in fact, the y-intercept, right? Because that happens when my point is on the y-axis, or my x value is 0, right? So I can see that this is the y-intercept, so I'm going to write that in here. Okay. Another thing you can always do, and here I'm going to mark this too, if you like writing it like that. I like the point though. Another thing you can always do is just sketch a small graph like this and just kind of plot those points on there where they would go. You can always make your own graph, and you could count out this slope, right? But this is a way to do it without actually having to see it graphically, right? If we understand that it's the change in the y's over the change in the x's. Okay. One more problem. And this one's going to be short and sweet because we know if we have our linear equation in this form, in slope-intercept form it's called, and we call it that because we specifically have a slope that we can identify and an intercept, or y-intercept, that we can identify. If we have our equation in this form, we can simply extract that information very quickly, okay? And so this equation is in that form, so I can see very quickly that my slope, or my m, I'll circle it there, but then I'm going to erase it because I covered up my x and I don't like that. My slope is -2/3, right? That's my value. So -2/3. I'm going to describe the slope of that line. It's definitely negative. Okay. And then my y-intercept as well. I can find that right from my equation. It's that part of it when we have it in slope-intercept form. Okay. So my y-intercept, and again, I like to write it like this, is 0.18. Okay. Or some of you like to write it like that. That'd be acceptable as well. Okay. So that's finding a given equation. There you go. That is target 1.5.